Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, staff, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, councillors, those listening at home, please be seated while Councillor Glenn Dewhurst delivers the blessing. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Heavenly Father, we are gathered tonight to serve our community. We ask for your wisdom and guidance. Help us to stay focused on the facts before us, making decisions with clarity, fairness and compassion. We also pray for those in the community who may be struggling with anger or frustration. Grant them peace, understanding and the ability to engage with kindness. May our discussions be respectful, our hearts open and our actions just, so that we may lead with integrity and work towards the betterment of all. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Before we begin, I will acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people and pay my respects to their elders both past and present. It is now 7:03 p.m. and I declare the meeting open. No announcement of visitors. I'll just read the disclaimer. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action on council decisions on items in which they may have an interest until such time as they've seen a copy of the minutes of the meeting or have been advised in writing by city staff. Okay. Record of attendance, we're all here. Councillor Adams is online. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Councillor Adams has a disclosure of interest on item number 13.5.1, which is on page 71. It's just an impartiality interest, so he will be staying in the room. I have a disclosure of interest on item number 13.2, agenda item number 13.2.1, which is on page 43. It's a financial interest as I am a close associate to the owner of the property, so I'll be leaving the chambers for that voting and Councillor Deputy Mayor Serena Williamson will be stepping in for that. Thank you. Announcements of presiding member. Just want to congratulate Councillor Dewhurst on his well-organised meeting last night with the Maddington community, along with the organisers with you for that. I think it was a really well-run event and I think that there was really good questions asked, and I also want to extend a thanks to Mr David Scaife, Member of Legislative Assembly, who's also the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Planning, Lands, Housing and Homelessness, along with the Honourable Steve Martin MLC, who is the Shadow Minister for Housing. It was great to see them there. I think the community really appreciated them coming along and answering their questions, along with the Deputy Director General for the Department of Communities, Mel. Her surname escapes me. So that was really well done, so congratulations to you and to the community groups. But also, I think it's fair to express our disappointment that there were no police officers in attendance, and just disappointed that the powers that be excluded members of the WA Police Force from being in attendance at that meeting, because I think it was important that they were there, and the fact they weren't is very disappointing to the community as well as to this council. I have no other announcements, thank you. Are there any reports from delegates? Thank you. No, thank you. We move on to public question time. So, the first question is from Mr Patrick Cullen of Elsie Street in Gosnells, and it's, yes, come forward Mr Cullen, thank you. How many questions have you got, Mr Cullen? Just the two? Okay, thank you. Do you need your questions?
No, I've got them, I just need to push the button. Got it. Okay, great. Yeah, just like to acknowledge we're on Whadjuk Noongar land to pay my respects to elders past, present. My first question is in relation, the two questions are in relation to the Brixton wetland, and the first one is, I know that it's to do with the city, and we did ask for the city to advocate for a regional park, but the first question is about that proposal. How can the city purport to advocate for a regional park for the Greater Street wetlands when their map does not fit with the recommendations of the EPA to protect the hydroplane and the vision of the Belia professors connect it to the Yule Brook and provide for at least 100-metre buffer zones?
Thank you for your question. I'll get the Acting Director for Planning, Mr Anthony Dentford, to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following public consultation on Amendments 166 and 169 to the City's Town Planning Scheme number 6 and the subsequent environmental review, the proposed regional park, as outlined in the City's position statement, is consistent with Council's recommendations to the Environmental Protection Authority. It is further noted that the City has lodged an appeal to EPA Report 1757 and its recommendations, which is currently being considered by the appeals convener.
Thank you. Your next question?
Okay, the second question is, I'm really just interested, it's kind of a fishing question, just to find out if there's any financial goings on with councillors here in the Mixie area. So there may not be, but how many councillors have bought or sold land in the Mixie area under the assumption given to buyers that it would be rezoned for business?
So I assume you're talking about me, Mr Cullen.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I think I'm the only person, unless anyone else has anything to declare about owning land in the Mooksy, I'm the only person that has bought and sold within the Mooksy 1 precinct. I bought it as business development. It was already zoned as business development and it was sold as business development. So that's the answer to your
Okay, well,
question.
that's good to clear that up. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr Brad Davies of Gosnells Road East in Martin.
First question, do we have a date when the local planning scheme 24 will be approved yet?
So Anthony Dempster will respond to that question. Thank you.
The City has not been provided with a gazettal date by either the DPLH, the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, or the West Australian Planning Commission.
So then why are the staff referencing the referencing the draft local planning scheme 24 in the development applications when it has not been approved yet and is subject for review this year and could be changed?
Thank you. That's Mr Davies' second question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Draft local planning scheme number 24 has been advertised and endorsed by Council. As such, local planning scheme 24 is considered to be a seriously entertained proposal, and it is therefore a due regard document to ensure consistency in the decision-making process and development outcomes as the City transitions to a new operative local planning scheme.
Yeah, but this hasn't been accepted.
It's answered. Thank you. Next question is from Mr Leon Walker. Mr Leon Walker, I note that you have 4 questions. You may ask 2, and if time permits, you can come back and ask the other 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do the provisions of the Local Government Act or any regulations empowered by the Act preclude the Mayor requesting the Examiner newspaper to replace Councillor Dewhurst's weekly article with a weekly article written by councillors in rotation?
I don't think there is anything that precludes, but it is a private relationship between the councillor and the Examiner, so I wouldn't do that. Thank you. Your next question.
During agenda item 5, reports of delegates at the OCM on June 11, 2024, Councillor Dewhurst reported on a visit to China. Was Councillor Dewhurst's visit to China made as a delegate of the City of Gosnells Council or in some other capacity?
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, he wasn't a delegate of the council.
I think I'll get you to come back for your other 2 questions. We'll now move on to Mr Rod Smith from White Road in Orange Grove, please. Thank you. Do you have a copy of your questions?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd like one, or you've got one?
No, I haven't got any.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just do it. That's fine.
Oh, this is the first time I've been here for a long time.
Thank you for
so-
coming, Mr Smith.
My question's about the blue sign that's on the boundary. There's 4 of them on the boundary of Orange Grove. I'm intrigued by the sign. I've lived in Orange Grove for 16 years. I've never seen anything like it. My question is, I guess, because of the absence of similar worded signs across Perth, and out of the hundreds of suburbs and the many local councils that make up the Perth metropolitan area, why was the suburb of Orange Grove singled out by the Shire of Gosnells to remind its citizens and the many thousands of people that drive by that indeed land restrictions apply. Yeah.
For your question, I'll get Director Bradbrook, he's the Director of Business Services, to respond to your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The signs were erected following requests from some local residents, just as a reminder to people that the area is zoned rural, and as such, it was set aside for rural pursuits, effectively. They are not signs that are installed in other places in the city, but they simply remind people that the area is zoned rural.
It's more about the
at the
land
request of
restrictions.
residents.
Sorry, it's more about the land restrictions.
Is that your second question?
No, it's not. My second question is, given what you've just said, is the council proposing to erect similar signs throughout the Shire, such as, for example, crime will not be tolerated in Maddington, or drug use is unacceptable in Kenwick?
That won't be happening. Thank you for that question.
It won't be
Mr. Smith.
happening?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Did you have a third question? I see three questions written here, but I've kind of told Mr. Walker he's going to have to come back for his third question, so I better be consistent and ask you, if you've got a third question, you can come back with it.
Well, yes. Will the council guarantee that property values in Orange Grove will not be negatively impacted by the perception of overzealous restrictions, particular to only to that suburb?
I'm just going to answer that for you, Mr. Bradbrook, because I don't believe that will be the case, Mr. Smith. This
You
is
don't
a little
think
bit.
so?
No, it's a little bit about protecting the purchasers as well, so that they don't think that they can do anything on the land when they get there. So that's a bit of the background to it. It's about protecting the people that are coming into the area as well. But happy to discuss that further with you, but that's the response for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Leah Sislak from Gosnells Road East in Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also have 3 questions.
You're going to have to ask 2 and come back with the third.
Oh,
Thank
good,
you.
that's easy. What verification has been submitted to the city by the applicant of 244 Kelvin Road, Orange Grove, to verify that he lives at this address?
Your question, I'll ask the Acting Director for Planning, Mr. Anthony Dentford. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The applicant provided written confirmation to the city during the assessment process that the subject site is his place of residence.
Thank you. Your next question.
If the applicant does not live on the property, does this change the proposed use to a transport depot, which I understand is prohibited in a rural zone?
Thank you for your second question. Thank you, Mr. Dentford.
That's correct. Hypothetically, if the proponent did not reside at the subject site, the land use activity would be defined as a transport depot and therefore not permitted in the general rural zone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you have to come back for your third question. Mr. Walker, I think you can come back for your next 2 questions now, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If Councillor Dewhurst visited China in a capacity other than that as a delegate of the City of Gosnells Council, how is it he made a report in reports of delegates at the June 11, 2024 OCM?
So we have shown a bit of leniency in the report of delegates, in that some councillors are on councils as well, and it's just to share information with the city on how things went. That is why he was allowed to have that report at that time. Your next question.
If Councillor Dewhurst visited China in a capacity other than as a delegate of the City of Gosnells Council, was he in breach of standing orders in making a report on the visit and reports of delegates at the June 11, 2024 OCM?
No, he wasn't.
Thank you.
Thank you. While you're up, I will allow you to ask the question that Mrs. Walker has... No, sorry, not Mrs. Walker.
Mrs. Walker's long gone, Madam Mayor.
I'm so sorry, Mrs. Barriolo has asked for you to ask. Sorry about that.
I just clarify, Mrs. Barriolo has had a medical procedure today and has asked that I read this question.
Yep.
Why can't residents and ratepayers Zoom into a meeting to ask their questions?
Thank you, and I think Mr. Bradbrook will respond to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That would require some legislative amendments, but it also, I'm not quite sure how it would work from a technology point of view, because I assume we would need to be inviting residents to join the meeting, which would be quite a challenge to manage. So I'm not sure that it could actually be managed with the technology available.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Your last question, thank you.
No worries. Am I able to ask an additional one on top of that as well, by any chance?
Yes, you can, thank you.
The verification that the applicant of 244 Kelvin Road, Orange Grove submitted, was it a copy of a driver's licence with the address, or was it just a, yep, I live there, it's all good?
Thank you, Mr Denford.
No, it wasn't a driver's licence, it was just an email correspondence.
Thank you. Your last question?
Thank you. Is the council trying to overturn the court verdict in order for the city to use the old tip site on Kelvin Road, Orange Grove for the proposed waste transfer facility and operations centre?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to, there are no more questions, so we move on to public statement time. Actually, we'll just share, where's that declaration gone? Is that the deputation? Sorry, Councillor, so I have also got a deputation from someone that can't be here this evening regarding the Greater Brixton Street wetlands, which I will circulate to you after this evening, so you've all got a copy of it for consideration going forward. Thank you. The first statement is from Mr Brad Davey from Gosnells Road East, and it's on item number 13.5.2, which is on page 74 of the agenda. Thank you, Mr Davey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The petition submitted by Councillor Glenn Dewhurst on the 25th of June 2024 on behalf of Alex Stewart raises some questions in my head. Firstly, why wasn't I given a chance to sign or object to sign, to which I would have politely declined? Why? Because the petition was kept secret. Only selected houses and residents were chosen to sign because they either are currently non-compliant, previously non-compliant, or even new to the area. The petition itself does not look like a formal petition. Firstly, on every page, there is nothing stating what these people have signed for. All it's saying is, see attached or left blank, were people shown paperwork saying that they were signing for something else, possibly wanting a public open space, a footpath, a dog park, who knows. This wouldn't stand up as evidence in a court of law. I also advise you of signature on the petition for address 244 Kelvin Road also has an item on the agenda, a whole nother matter, tonight seeking approval for commercial vehicle parking and the use of a B-double road train which doesn't meet the local planning policy, and giving you the greater understanding of why some people may have signed this petition. The legitimacy of the signatures raises a question too. People signing on behalf of other people based on the handwriting being the same. I wouldn't say this petition is compliant. By agreeing to this petition, you are giving away people's rights to report non-compliance within the community. Each household gets one set of rates, not one person. I would have thought one signature per household would suffice. If you count the signatures by address, this would equate to probably 60 lots, including the random Gosnells and Mills Road address. I'm sure you know how many lots there are in Orange Grove, making the signatures based off the lots numbers a minority. Also, Alex Stewart, the submitter of the petition, or creator of the petition, has signed it twice because he owns property on White Road and Maddington Roads.
Mr Davey. Move on to Dr Eddie Wajon from Eckersley Heights in Winthrop, and it's on item number 13.2.3 on page 55 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. Yes, my name's Eddie Wajon. I am an environmental scientist and an environmental engineer. I am the convener of the Friends of Kenhurst Park in the City of Melville, and I am the National Conservation Officer for the Australian Native Plant Society, Australia. So I have a very strong background in the environment and botanical issues. I object to the development of the Maddington-Kenwick Strategic Employment Area as proposed by the City of Gosnells. The EPA has recommended no, and this recommendation should be endorsed by the state government and followed in full by the City of Gosnells. The reason for my objection is that the MKSEA will destroy the Greater Brixton Street wetlands that you are now saying you want to turn into a regional park. You say that the MKSEA establishes formal buffer separation to the wetlands and provides a drainage management strategy to mitigate any impacts. And you say that this will protect the wetlands. This is naive and not supported by the evidence. This is why the EPA rejected the proposal. You don't seem to understand or ignore the fact that no one, least of all the council and its consultants, understands the hydrology of the area, and that the hydrology is fundamental to the functioning and protection of the Brixton Street wetlands. This is exemplified by you saying that the area to be developed has no environmental value. How wrong you are. This area is what fundamentally sustains the Brixton Street wetlands, the jewel in the crown. So to now say you want to turn the Brixton Street wetlands into a regional park is naive and inconsistent with what is needed and what the public wants. The public wants the Yule Brook Regional Park to be declared, a regional park which covers the area around the Greater Brixton Street wetland and protects the source of the groundwater that is fundamental to the sustainability of the area. You have said that the MRS rezoning required you to redevelop the area. However, it does not prescribe what you must do, and it certainly does not say you have to clear the native vegetation from the area. This is actually a choice. You have a better choice than to clear, and that is to turn a much more substantial portion of the area into a nature reserve, a climate buffer, and a human sanctuary. I am sure you as a council must have an Indigenous reconciliation action plan. Well, the first action must to reconcile yourself with the land, which is fundamental to Indigenous people. Here is your chance to that first step of reconciliation, to create the Yule Brook Regional Park, which enlarges and sustains the Greater Brixton Street wetlands, giving it life and vitality rather than just consigning the area to a mausoleum. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Wayon. Thank you. The next statement is from Tracy O'Neill. I'm not sure which item you're speaking on, Mrs. O'Neill. 13.5.2. On 13.5.2. Come forward, thank you. She's from Kenwick Road in Kenwick, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to item 13.5.2 on tonight's agenda, I ask Council to consider the proposed matrix be open to community consultation. I ask this because I feel some of the intended classifications aren't appropriate. For example, if the breach has been occurring for a lengthy time without complaint is listed under minder. No, Madam Mayor, a breach is a breach. Not everyone is aware that they can make a complaint or even how to make a complaint, and the city's website is not user-friendly at all. The petition also asked for anonymous complaints to be disregarded unless accompanied by substantial evidence. There does remain an element in society who will retaliate with verbal or physical assault or indeed acts of pettiness in response to complaints. It should not fall to members of the public to put themselves in harm's way to gather substantial evidence. That is up to the city officers. It also shouldn't matter the number of complaints by a single person. Often a spokesperson will collate the information and present it on behalf of others. Complaints on properties under temporary DA should be treated with greater concern. I know the city's position is prior behaviour is no indication of future behaviour, but when you have properties breaching for the entirety of their approval, that is a pretty decent indicator, and the surrounding community should not be subjected to such regard for approval conditions on a permanent basis. Thank you.
Very much. We now have Catherine Torse from Gibson Avenue in Padbury on 13.2.3. Thank you. Just remind people that are making public statements, they have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. The current position statement by the City of Gosnells on the Greater Brixton Street wetlands is the latest effort by the city to influence the progress of the MIXI. As an environmental scientist, I've been watching City of Gosnells' MIXI efforts since about 2006. Unfortunately, this position statement by the City of Gosnells just does not add up to what it claims to be. The City of Gosnell claims it's advocating for the environment, yet, in reality, this position statement appears to be pushing the most hardcore anti-nature position that I have seen COG issue on MIXI for decades. Is COG acting as a sore loser after the umpire, the EPA, called time in April 24 and ruled that both of COG's remaining MIXI industrial rezonings in Kenwick not be allowed? COG has been given every chance to score a fair winning goal for Team MIXI. It spent more than $500,000 in the last quarter alone to prove that the MIXI industrial expansion would not produce significant impacts, yet COG and Team MIXI copped a thrashing from the umpire, the EPA. The EPA said no. The environmental review document that COG presented to EPA was still not up to scratch. Even after 5 years of revisions, the EPA rejected it again, as the ERD was incomplete, illogical, lacked expertise, and no means no. So guess what? The ERD that the EPA rejected showed much more protection for the environment of the wetlands, the Greater Brixton wetlands and adjacent wetlands, than this current position statement by the city. The ERD actually showed some narrow buffer zones around the Brixton wetlands and Newell Brook and proposed upping the conservation protection of most of the vegetated lands in the MIXI precincts 2 and 3B. All of these modest protections have been dropped in this current position statement for the regional park. So the prognosis for this position statement is even poorer. The EPA said no to ERD, and the community definitely rejects the even more defective regional park position statement. More recently, COG showed it was still refusing to accept the EPA referee's decision by appealing against the decision. If COG was genuine about advocating for the Greater Brixton Street wetlands, it would withdraw its appeal against the EPA decision, instead of issuing what is in fact a sharp backhander to the environment in the form of this disingenuous regional park position. This type of advocating, pretending to be advocating for the environment, yet in fact doing the opposite, as this retrograde position statement is doing, can be interpreted as a form of hypocrisy. It's called greenwashing. The COG is also breaking protocol by issuing this position on the regional park, as the LGA has no authority in this regard. The Minister for the Environment proclaims regional parks, and once the WAPC has rezoned the land to regional park in the MRS. This means DPLH has to do the detailed planning first to define the boundaries and identify the rezoning required, not the City of Gosnells. The city has no authority in this regard, and this ill-conceived statement is premature.
And Mrs. Torres, you have gone over the time limit, but you've only got 2 paragraphs to go, so please continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Belia Prof's vision of the Newell Brook Regional Park is the only sound, scientific peer-reviewed blueprint for commencing the ecological restoration and ecological connectivity of this part of Kenwick and Wattle Grove, areas that are currently neglected, abused, and often downright dangerous and antisocial. The Belia Prof's proposed vision is modest compared to the EPA's judgment. It's a preliminary plan that requests the COG yield at least 27% of the COG's proposed MIXI 2 and 3B development footprint to conservation. This area would form a single large polygon marked green on the Belia Prof's plan, and it includes closing off parts of Brook Road, Bickley Road, Grove Road and Boundary Road within that green polygon. The plan also sets 100-metre buffer zones around all conservation areas. The plan also conserves much, but not all, of the remaining hydroplane in Kenwick and Wattle Grove, which is located on the Brixton wetland side of Welshfield Road, Tonkin Highway. This hydroplane, even if it's not covered by any native vegetation, must be recognised by the City of Gosnells as a vital conservation value. It's a subtle point, but you need to understand that. Compared to the Belia Prof's vision for the regional park, the current Gosnells position statement is an amateurish regional park that serves developers, not nature. Unfortunately, it must be condemned for its lack of integrity and the impacts to biodiversity it represents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leah Sislak from Gosnells Road East has a statement on 13.2.1, which is the development application on page 43. Thank you.
Sorry. Good evening, Mayor, councillors and staff. Tonight I ask you to reject application 13.2.1, the development application for 244 Lot 1 Kelvin Road, Orange Grove. In the report, the staff have referenced Local Planning Scheme 24 Precedent 4. LPS 24 hasn't even been approved by state government and it shouldn't be referenced to sway influence based off future zoning plans. This application needs to be taken on the current scheme, which is Town Planning Scheme 6, and the entirety of Orange Grove is a general rural zone. Local Planning Policy 2.1, Section 3.1, land upon which a commercial vehicle is parked where that vehicle is not driven or towed by an occupant of a dwelling on that site as part of their occupation shall be deemed as being used as a transport depot, and the permissibility of that land use shall be as per TPS 6. The staff report does not state that K West, the applicant, resides at 244 Kelvin Road, Orange Grove. He's not even the owner of the property, therefore the proposal cannot be considered a commercial vehicle parking and must be considered a transportation depot. A transport depot is prohibited within the general rural zone under provisions of Town Planning Scheme 6, Local Planning Policy 2.1. This proposal cannot be approved. The truck parking of a Kenworth 3-axle prime mover and parking of 2 trailers 13.7 metres each in length. The applicant has stated that they will run in a B double movement, 36.5 metres, as well as a single movement. B double movements are not permitted in a rural zone under the Local Planning Policy 2.1, column 3.2c. But the length of the Kenworth prime mover is not stated in the report. Those vehicles range anywhere between 6 to 8 metres, sometimes longer. If the truck is, for example, 7 metres long, even with one trailer attached, it exceeds the total 20-metre length in column B of Local Planning Policy 2.1, and the proposal cannot be approved. I ask again, please reject this application as it does not meet the criteria of a general rural zone under TPS 6 and Local Planning Policy 2.1. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to Mr Patrick Cullen, who is making a statement on 13.2.3, page 55 of the agenda. Thank you, Mr Cullen.
Now it is, okay. I'd like to start again by acknowledging Whadjuk Noongar people, and particularly at the Brixton wetlands, and there's evidence that they've lived there for more than 5,000 years till close to the present time. Now, we asked as a community for the City of Gosnells to advocate for the Greater Brixton Street wetlands to be a regional park, and tonight you are doing that. We should be pleased, but we're not. For you've seen the maps, and what we've seen would amount to a fake park. The map you have drawn does not fall in line with, 1, the EPA recommendations to protect the hydroplane that feeds water into the wetland, a necessity to keep the animals and plants alive, and 2, the vision of the Beelier professors for proper buffers and complete connection with the Yule Brook, which would connect the various reserves together. If the area is fragmented, it will lose its ecological integrity. Instead, the city still wants to go ahead and create 257 hectares of industry that would destroy the water source and fragment and degrade the area. To put this into context, Ningaloo Reef has 289 coral species, whereas these reserves together have half of Perth's plant species, numbering over 850. All of this in 1% of Perth or Boorloo's area. This is our Ningaloo on land and deserves the same reverence and level of protection. Tonight, instead of throwing away this global wonder, we urge you to follow the advice of the scientists and the EPA and make a regional park that will stand for millennia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Cullen. That brings us to the end of question and public statement time. We'll now move on to the confirmation of the minutes. Can I get a mover? Can somebody please turn off the microphone? Mr Walker, would you? Oh, thanks, Leah. Thank you. Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. Can I get a mover? Thank you, Councillor Islam, and seconded by Councillor McDonald. Is there any questions on the minutes, councillors? No? If you could please cast your vote by show of hands. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Moving on to the receiving of petitions and presentations. Are there any? No, thank you, councillors. Applications of leave of absence. I have an application for a leave of absence. I seek a leave of absence from council for the period from the 22nd of the 8th to the 30th of the 8th, which includes the council meeting on the 27th of the 8th. I'd love a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Councillor Deputy Mayor Williamson. And can I get a show of hands for a vote for that? Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you. That has been carried. Moving on, there are no questions of which due notice has been given. Moving on to item number 12.1, the Public Art Committee meeting on the 5th of July 2024. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Dewhurst to move that, Councillor Lloyd to second that. Is there any debate or questions on this item, councillors? No? Councillors, will you please cast your vote? Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Moving on to the major projects progress report on 13.1.1. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Dalton to move that and Councillor Deputy Mayor Williamson to second that. Are there any questions on this item, councillors? I just have a couple actually, sorry. I'm just wondering if the Acting Director of Infrastructure could let us know when the works are expected to begin on the principal path shared between Gosnells and Armidale. Thank you.
Sure. So the stage 1 design is complete for that extension of that principal shared path. Stage 1 extends from the Tonkin Highway to approximately 250 metres north of Seaforth train station. And the city is currently finalising permits for works, and that includes going over the Dampier-Bunbury natural gas pipeline. We're also in the process of dealing with a grant agreement with Department of Transport, to revise project into stages. We're doing lighting design, clearing permits, and working with the PDA to get support and approval for minor encroachment of the rail corridor.
Thank you very much. I actually have another question for you, sorry. I noted in here it talks about how the rest of the remaining all abilities playgrounds will be finished in the first quarter of 24-25, and those playgrounds being Gosnells Oval, Boyle Lane and Mary Carroll Park. Are they still on target to be finished in the first quarter of this financial year?
For the most part, if weather treats us kindly, then yes, they will be. There will be one element of Mary Carroll which won't be able to be completed, and that's simply as a result of procurement and shipping related issues, and that will be the Gilgy within Mary Carroll, which is unfortunate. But we'll also be looking to try and open the remaining portion of the playground and wait for that to arrive before it's able to be installed and then open that.
A follow-up question, do we have any idea when the Gilgy will be arriving?
We're currently in some stern negotiations with our suppliers around that, and I don't necessarily want to commit to anything. At the end of the day, it's got to come, it's being manufactured in Turkey, it's then shipped across the world from there, and it will all depend upon how it goes through the shipping lanes and so on. We're probably, realistically though, not expecting to receive it on shores until probably the end of the year, and then installation in January. But we're, as I said, having some stern conversations to try and accelerate that program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions on that item, councillors? No? If you'd like to cast your vote then, thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Move on to item 13.1.2, the annual review of the corporate business plan. Can I get a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst and Councillor McDonald to second that. Is there any questions on this item, councillors? No questions on this item? Oh, Councillor Baines, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I'm just finding my page. I just wanted to confirm there was a section about constructing a path between Reservoir Road and Maddington Road in Orange Grove. Is that for Standerland Street?
And I'll get the acting director to answer that question. Thank you.
I'll have to take that one on notice. I don't know the details, I'm afraid, sorry.
Not a problem. If you don't mind getting me an ETA when that might start.
I can probably get you something next couple of days.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Baines. Is there any further questions on this item? No? Okay, councillors, please cast your vote. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. I will now be vacating the chair and invite the Deputy Mayor to come forward, as I have an interest in this item. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've got item 13.2.1, development application, commercial vehicle parking, 244, lot 1, Kelvin Road, Orange Grove. Can I get a mover? I've got Councillor Dewhurst as a mover and Councillor Betts as a seconder. Councillor Dewhurst, do you have any comments?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Councillors, so tonight it's actually about parking 2 trailers. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'll want to ask a question first, so I can still speak. Yep. Ask a question. This is just about being able to park a trailer, the 2 trailers and the truck on the property. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor Dewhurst.
So this is not about them actually running on Kelvin Road. It's just the parking of the 2 trailers and a truck.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, you've taken half my speech away. So, which is probably good for everybody because people want to probably get home. Okay, so just another question. I just want to ask a question. A question was asked earlier: have we approved any B trains to be parked on properties? And that was a fairly reasonable question. But have we actually approved truck and 2 trailers on properties previously?
A question for
I'm happy to
For the
say
CEO?
my understanding is we've approved trucks and 2 trailers which fit with the policy.
Yep, they fit with the policy, no worries at all. So we're here tonight. The reason is because the person's written the road because he wants to put one trailer on the back of another trailer when he actually pulls it out. So I will actually talk a little bit about it. So Kelvin Road, legal limit for trucks and trailers is 27.5 metres. So you can legally pull it on there without having to get main roads permission. And this is why we're here tonight. The truck and trailer combination is, the B train is 36.5 metres, and which is actually additional 9 metres to travel the 200 metres from his address to the Kelvin Road. Sorry? Tonkin Highway, sorry, yeah, Tonkin Highway, thanks for that, yeah. I'm asking councillors to support this, and the reason I'm saying that it's supported is that this is all about parking, and we're sitting on a 2.24 hectare property, which is probably about 6 acres, 8 acres maybe. Yep, and the truck and trailer is going to be parked 160 metres from the Kelvin Road, 15 metres from both sides of the boundaries. There's been not one objection from any of the neighbours. In fact, one of the neighbours have actually approved it. The only objections and only noise you've heard is from people that this doesn't actually even relate to. So I ask councillors to actually support this. This person's been doing this. I've lived in the city for over 20 years, and as long as I can remember, this person's been doing this, no problems at all. And the reason we're here tonight is because he wants to do the right thing and get permission from Main Roads to actually run the combination out of that property. But also I want to highlight to councillors that looking at our waste disposal facility, when we'd be taking rubbish out of there, taking it to the furnace over in Kwinana, that if we actually lease this out, I don't think we're going to be buying trucks and trailers of our own. I'd very be surprised if we did. We'd probably actually outsource that. Not saying we will. We might buy trucks and trailers of our own, but as an operator, would more than likely to actually save money. We'd be running B trains or combinations out of there anyway, and I'm sure they'll be seeking approval from the council to actually do it. We also have combinations and B trains running out from the old Pindan site who have the ability to do that lawfully as well. So I can't see any reason to object to this. I can't see any reason why we would discriminate against this fellow here, and I ask you all to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Would any other Councillor Betts, would you like to speak? No. Would any other councillors? Councillor Lloyd?
I did ask a question earlier of the staff, which Councillor Dewhurst brought up. How many times has the city previously approved a B-double configuration? I didn't actually get the response back on that. Could I have it, please?
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Do we have a response for that?
And I think the response was that we'd have to go back a long, long time to understand whether we had ever approved one, but certainly the view is not in the sort of near to medium past.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd, do you have a further question or okay.
I will be speaking against this item as the proposal asks for a significant exception to our existing policy, which restricts truck sizes and specifically prohibits B-double configurations. Allowing this, I feel, could set a dangerous precedent, encouraging more requests for exceptions that could undermine the purpose of this policy. I appreciate this particular property is only a short distance to the Tonkin Highway and has limited truck movements, but these larger B-double trucks could negatively impact the quiet rural nature of the area, especially within the potential for increased noise and visual disruption. If this precedent then invites further applications or approvals, we go on to have concerns about road safety, as our rural roads may not be suitable for such large vehicles, increasing the risk of accidents. We need to really consider the cumulative effect on our community and stick to our current planning rules, which protect the rural lifestyle for the residents. And as Councillor Dewhurst highlighted, this application isn't about travelling on the roads, it's about parking and what is allowed under the current framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? Councillor Dewhurst will close now.
Thanks very much. Look, I'd like to thank Councillor Lloyd for her for what she was saying, and we're saying we talk about setting precedents of allowing these size trucks into rural areas. These size trucks are already in our areas. Okay, we haven't B trains running out of Borrell. We have B trains running out of Wholesome as well. In fact, we have semi-trailers running out of Wholesome. You know, all allowed to be done. All approved by Main Roads, and under the Main Roads guidelines, if it's not on a RAV road, they've got to get approval, planning approval from local government. So I'm saying, based on that facts from Main Roads, we have already approved this stuff already, and I think it would be negligent of us to actually recognise that at least, because I tell you what, Borrell and Wholesome would not be doing the wrong thing. The old Pindan site across the road, I don't know who's running out the other side, it's called the old Pindan site, it's always been that's what I've called it. They're running B trains and also combinations out of there with the approval from Main Roads, so they had to have had approval from council. And I just think this makes this common sense. The fact is that we're not arguing about what's on the road, we're actually arguing how they're going to park it. The guy's on 2.2 hectares, he doesn't have to break the combination up to turn around. He can actually park there quite safely, 16 metres from the neighbours. Neighbours haven't complained. In fact, one of the neighbours has said, yes, go for it. There's a lot of little things, industries happening around there. The city will be eventually looking for B trains or combinations. I guarantee that will happen once we get that furnace going. I'm looking for you, can't think of the waste energy, thank you. We get the waste energy going, so I just think we just need to be confident of that, and I'll ask councillors to please support this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. We'll now go to the vote, so raise your hand if you're in support of the application. Thank you, councillors. That's been carried. Thank you. And one against.
Did you hear any of it? 13.22, the budget variation request for Southern River Precinct 3 Development Contribution Plan Dual Use Path Development Claim. Can I get a mover? Councillor McDonald to move that. Councillor Betts to second that. Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Betts? Any other questions or debate on this item? No? Councillors, if you please cast your vote. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Moving on to item number 13.2.3, the position statement for the Greater Brixton Street Wetlands Potential Regional Park. Can I get a mover for this, please? I'm happy to move it myself. Can I get a seconder for this, please? Councillor Betts to second this.
Councillor, Mayor, I'm really feeling sorry. I'm really feeling sorry for Councillor Adams. He's sitting there, he's waving each time, and he wants to.
Does he want to move something? Does he?
He wants to move something. So yeah.
Have to get his bottom back in the seats here then. I'll try to keep you in mind, Councillor Adams. I'm so sorry. I'm happy to move this one. Councillor Betts to second this one. I think this is a good start to what we can be doing in the area, so I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation on this. I take on note what's been said by the experts in the gallery this evening, but I think this is a very good start, and this may not be the end of the area for the regional park, but it's certainly the start of what we want. So I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation on this. Councillor Betts, would you like to speak to this item? Thank you.
Madam Mayor, just briefly, our advocacy position is that the current Bush Forever site, that's exactly what we're advocating should be we're advocating that should become a regional park. So that's a very clearly defined area that the government has indicated that is of significance, and a regional park can always be added to. That's not a problem, but at least that's the starting point for this. And I think I don't want to get into debates with in too much detail, but I think the quality of the developments and with the buffers that were originally proposed and originally, from my understanding, actually approved, that the runoff water from the warehouses will actually help to replenish the water supply, and I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. But that's not relating directly to this point, to this advocacy paper. Thank you.
Is there any further to Councillor Williamson? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have two questions. The first question is in regard to impacts on the buffer zone. So by adopting this position statement, would the city still be advocating and supporting buffers if the rezoning was still to go ahead?
Thank you for your question. Mr Cowie will respond. Thank you.
Yes, it will. It supports that the buffers will be outside of this area.
Thank you, Mr CEO. The second question is in relation to if the appeal that we have in place, if we're unsuccessful with the appeal, does this position statement restrict us in any way of going back and requesting a larger area as a regional park?
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Mr CEO, respond. Thank you.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Thank you. Is there any further questions or debate on this item? I don't think I have anything more to add to that other than councillors. Can you please cast your vote? Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Moving on to item 13.3.1, the report on the petition for the installation of barbecue facilities at Riverhaven Park. Councillor Adams is moving that, and Councillor Barley Singh is seconding it. Thank you. Are there any? Do you want to speak to this item, Councillor Adams? Councillor Singh? No, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Dewhurst, thank you.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. So I've been contacted by community out there. They're extremely excited about this. They weren't quite sure if they were going to get it or not. They thought could give it a good crack, and they certainly did. And our wonderful staff have found the resources to actually do it and find it's actually quite a simple build. So I want to congratulate the CEO and your directors and your staff to actually put such a good report together. The community is extremely happy, and I'm just happy to report that. Thank you very much. So I ask you to support it, please.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. Is there any further questions or debate on this item? No. Councillors, will you please cast your vote? Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. Item number 13.5.1, the tender for 04-2024 supply and delivery of sand. Councillor Aaron Adams has an impartiality interest on this, but he can still vote on it. Thank you. Is there any? Can I get a mover for this, please? Councillor Dalton to move this and Councillor Zhang to second this. Councillor Dalton, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Zhang, any further debate or questions on this item, councillors? Yes, thank you.
I think it's worth noting that the cost is 30% higher than what it has been, and I think this gives an indication of the cost pressures that council is under in terms of its work. And I think it's just worth putting that on public record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Betts. Any further? No, councillors, please cast your vote. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. 13.5.2, the report on a petition requesting amendments to council compliance and enforcement policy. Can I get a mover for this? Councillor Dewhurst to move this. Second, Councillor Baines to second this. Councillor Dewhurst, would you like to speak to this? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. Look, I'd like to ask councillors to support the staff recommendation, who's obviously done some considerable research and after one of our workshops that we had as well. I note some commentary this evening. It's from the same people that normally complain about everyone. So I can't really, I can't really take that on value because some of the information that's been provided is not correct. I would like to also add in there that if people were being signed the petition that didn't want to sign the petition, I'm sure they would have been here. I did get contacted this afternoon by Mr. Stewart and a couple of other residents who wanted to be here tonight to talk in support of this, and I said it's up to them. If they want to come out in the cold, they can. But I'm sure council would make the logical decision to actually support the community who overwhelmingly supported this particular petition, and it's quite one of our highest turnouts per capita than the petitions that we've actually had. So I'd ask councillors to recognise that and support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dewhurst. I just have a quick... is there any further debate on this item, councillor? Sorry, I should give everyone a chance. Councillor Islam, thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just want to ask a question or for a clarification. If the staff recommendations are supported tonight, what is the next step? Do we get a chance to review the policy and then make comments and feedback? Thank you.
I'll let you know I haven't got a question now because you've just taken it. The next process is develop a policy, which I believe will come back to the community for comment on, but I will ask the Director to be a bit more technical than me on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, if council supports the recommendation as written, then we will draft some amendments to the policy to incorporate the matrix, and that will get circulated to councillors for comment before it comes to a council meeting for adoption.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or debate on this item? No? Councillors, please cast your vote. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. I have a question. Can Mr Bradbrook put the appendixes at the back of the file so I can find the pages that I'm up to? Thank you. Okay, I think we're on 13.5.3, unless I missed a page. Tender for 102024 Sutherlands Park Youth Entertainment Space Electrical Works. Can I get a mover for this, please? Councillor Baines to move this. Councillor McDonald to second this. Councillor Baines, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor McDonald, would you like to speak to this item? No. I have a proposed amendment for this item, councillors. I'll just read that out to you, that there be an inclusion of a... Hang on a sec. Staff recommendation 3 of 3 to be included in there, so that'll change 1 of 3 and 2 of 3. That council requests the mayor to write to the member for Southern River, Mr Terry Healy, MLA, seeking an additional state government contribution of $284,285, which is 50% of the cost in excess of council's adopted budget for the YES project, for the following reason. The member for Southern River has been a strong supporter and advocate for the development of YES and has consistently referred to the project being a partnership between the state government and the city. So in a partnership would generally involve the equitable sharing of costs, and as such it would be appropriate for the state government to be requested to make an additional contribution towards this project. Councillor Lloyd's happy to second that. I don't think there's much more to be said other than I think it's only fair that if we're doing this as a joint project and the state government has been a significant contributor to it, I think they've contributed $2 million. Do we have that money yet? Not. We haven't got that yet. Okay, we're getting it. We're getting $2 million towards this, and the city's contributing another $4.5 million or so. So I think it's only fair that the state government, as a joint partner, is contributing half of that extra $580,000. So, Councillor Lloyd, would you like to speak to this item? Anyone else like to speak to my amendment to this motion? Councillor Betts, thank you.
Madam Mayor, how could anybody oppose asking government for money?
We shall give it a go. Any further questions on this item? Councillors, if you please cast your vote on the amendment only. Thank you. Thank you, that has been carried. We now put the amendment back with the original item, and is there any further debate or questions on the original item? No. Councillors, if you please cast your vote. Thank you. Thank you, that has been carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to 13.5.4, the tender for 09-2024 Walter Padbury Reserve irrigation installation. Can I get a mover for this? Councillor Dewhurst to move this. Councillor Singh to second this. Thank you. Councillor Dewhurst, would you like to speak? Councillor Singh? Any other councillors? Did I miss Councillor Adams again? Sorry. We look forward to your return. Thank you, councillors. If you could please cast your vote on this item. Thank you. Thank you. That has been carried. There are no motions of which previous notice has been given, no urgent business, and no confidential items. I declare the meeting closed at 8:03. Thank you, everyone, for coming along this evening. Thank you.